This is kind of the title of our show, A Character Study. And these are the two main characters, and then there's a protagonist as well. Wendell and Wild are demon brothers. And I first did a very simple drawing to show Jordan, like this idea of a caricature. He definitely wasn't convinced, but I'll show it to you. Whoops, I went this way. Oh, sorry. This is an old publicity photo when the guys were together. Keegan-Michael Key as Wendell and Jordan Peele as Wild. Okay, so I did this rough, sketchy caricature to sort of get the ball rolling. But then, met up with Pablo, and this next image has sketches, and there was many, many steps to get to something, something that refined. And I don't have them all, but I want to show you just some of his ideas and so forth. And these two demons have two guises. They're in their demonic form, and then they play these morticians. I would like to ask Pablo to talk a little bit about his version of our history and his approach to these characters.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Sorry for my English, first thing. Well, my side of the story is different because I once received an email from a guy called Henry Selick talking about doing some motion pictures. God, this is the Henry Selick I know from Nightmare Before Christmas. So, and of course, Coraline. And yes, it was Henry Selick. So, of course, I wanted to work with him. And when we met in Burbank, he told me about the story about Keegan, Jordan Peele, Keegan Peele, sorry. And I really loved the idea. And of course, I would work with him. I was wondering how much I should pay to work with Henry Selick. So, but it was for free. So yes, for me, it's like an adventure. I never, I have not a background in animation. I like to work with faces and expressions of real people. And there were real people because it was these two amazing actors. When Henry told me about this, I saw all the episodes of Key and Peele, and I laughed a lot with that. And so I was on board from the beginning, and I really love all the journey that has been working with Henry and drawing these guys. Henry told me what he has in mind. I remember he told me about a specific sketch of Jordan and Peele where they were some kind of terrorists in a plane, very, very, very strange people with very facial hair, very, very strange too. So, and he was like a very scary behavior in a plane. So everybody was freaking out, and these guys were talking about bombs and things like that. So I have these two reference, not only the faces of the actors, but this particular sketch where they were some kind of terrorists. So it was really fun, and I had the face and the personality, so it was very easy to play with that. Of course, there was a lot of back and forward, and I sent all this first sketch to Henry, and Henry gave me his feedback, but I really enjoyed that. So it's very, very, very good for me. I had a blast doing that. So I don't know. It was I like the way because the first draft I was trying to keep the likeness very strong, but with the drawings and the work, it was for me more important that they have the personality first than the likeness. So I think we have we managed like a equilibrium between the two things, you know, the likeness and the personality. I am really happy with the drawings, and I was amazed when I first saw the first puppets, you know, because I remember one thing Henry told me, because he told me about the project the first time we met. I was very sincere with him and say, I really like the idea, but I don't see how you're gonna turn these flat things that I do, that these flat drawings, into 3D puppets. And he said to me, yes, you don't know how, but I do. So he was right. He knew how to do that. For me, it was like a real surprise, and I am still amazed about how things turn out. With, you know, the passage from flat things to 3D puppets is amazing for me. And when they move, they are absolutely marvelous.
Well, thank you, Pablo. Your side of things, and when I said, "Oh, I know how to do it," a more honest answer would have been, "I think we can do it." And the next part, I'm going to sort of show the journey, because his Pablo does amazing work. All these caricatures and other art and so forth. But it is very graphic. In a way, Picasso-esque, you might say. So originally I thought, well, that's how he designs. I want to try to capture that. So this is after Jordan's character as a demon was getting nailed down. Character-wise, I did some experiments with kind of a bas-relief look to the design. And so literally, I prefer always still working with a sculptor who works in clay, although we do have some things we've done CG as well to design, you'll see as well. So we kind of had this look, and I was interested in pursuing it, and I still am, but it wasn't ultimately very practical for the whole movie. It would, it would have kept a very designy look all the time. So ultimately, I continued to experiment with maybe more dimensional bodies and faces, bas-relief. There were some studies here. I worked with some great sculptors. Damon Bard was the primary fellow up front, and Ben Adams also very strong. But early on, some studies were done here. Well, what if he was fully dimensional? What would he look like? And you'll see that ultimately what we ended up with, there's two worlds. There's the underworld, and there's the land of the living. And in their demon form, they are a bit more designy. Their faces are flat. And then in the land of the living, they sort of transition to be more dimensional. But what I discovered was Pablo can draw dimensionally. He can do great design from any angle. So his influence was maintained throughout the film. So here's just some facial sketches. As we all do when we do these character sheets, exploring personalities and lip sync. And here's when Pablo gets to do a full run on it, and he did so much great work. I mean, we would give indications. I worked with some really good 2D animators to come up with, mouth shapes. I don't like designing those in the computer. I'd always rather start with 2D animation design and working with great 2D animators. And then Pablo, building on what we needed, would actually do all the mouth shapes as well as all these expressions we felt we needed. And as you can see, his work is so beautiful, clear, and wonderful. We tried our best to capture it, and we came pretty close. Ultimately, we sculpted, this is a sculpted form of, well, he was sculpted, this is the puppet, the first puppet, and he has a bas-relief face, his body's dimensional, and his face, like Mickey Mouse's ears, always has to sort of play to camera. I'm going to go through sort of a briefer review of Wendell. Okay, so here was my first sketch. You know, what if Keegan-Michael Key was demonic? And then, of course, then working with Pablo, he did some great explorations, you know, just capturing the amazing caricature of him and then turning him into a demon. And there's more demonic version and less, very playful. We actually, for a while, we were going with this design, and so did the same thing of a bas-relief sculpture and you know, playing around with that as a look. But we eventually settled on this design. There's a few variations here, and that's pretty close to a final. There was an early sculpt, a dimensional one that we didn't use, but just sort of show progress. And then, you know, the usual thing, what do we need? And then Pablo would turn it into Pablo design. Or we would just give him descriptions of emotions, and he would do them without any reference. We also then we went into the computer to do like a body sculpt with a flat face. And that's actually very close to the final design of both demons in the underworld. And there's the puppet that was created from that. I'm going to now show a clip. These are the first characters created along with their giant pet bug. And I'm going to show you a little clip of that. Okay. Yeah, Wendell Wild, they're prisoners in the underworld. They had the audacity to propose a change in the design of this fair down there, the Scream Fair. And so they're imprisoned, and their job is planting hair plugs on a giant's head. Okie doke. Anyway, so that was earliest characters that were sculpted. We actually did a test in the same set with those characters down in LA to get the movie greenlit, you know, for Melissa Cobb and Greg Taylor, and then Brennan joined a little later. Okay. I'll go through sort of a briefer approach to them in their mortician guys. Since we already had a basic idea, Pablo then, you know, kind of clean them up. They're coming to the land of the living, and they want to look their best because they have a plan to make a whole lot of money with magic hair cream. You know, gorgeous expressions for both. In this guise, they would have the ability to get angry and turn somewhat demonic for a moment. Here's a sculpt of Wild. Sculptures of them both. And then here's actual final puppets. And now I'm going to show a clip of them I should point out to folks who aren't familiar with stop motion, then in the past, whenever a character had to like jump up in the air or fly, we had to hang them from spider wires. But for years now, we use rigs. We use some kind of a metal arm. Sometimes it's on a track to hold their weight, and then those things are painted out in post-production. All right, now I want to get to our protagonist, Cat Elliott. And I'm going to talk a little bit about who the character is in the story and influences. She's voiced wonderfully by Lyric Ross. You might know her from This Is Us. She's been in that series from the start. I was kind of looking for something, and something Jordan was also interested in, to sort of ground her, make her, you know, she's an outsider, and ultimately to have a connection between her and her dad. And, you know, we weren't that familiar with this, but we came across the Afro punk movement. It's kind of a cultural, musical, modern day celebration. It was, you know, there was black punk music in the 1970s, Bad Brains, Pure Hell, some other notables, Fishbone. I shot a video of them in the early 80s, actually. But there was just this great rebelliousness and incredible, you know, just creativity to the kids and young people who have embraced this movement, you know, fashion-wise, music-wise. So that that became an inspiration for Cat herself. And so early on, there was a whole bunch of sketches. We're just trying to find our way. And Pablo did a bunch of sketches. And I'm going to show a few very early roughs. You know, this is how he worked early on. And there's some stronger than others, and some are cuter than others. But I think that we both felt that it wasn't grounding her. She was sort of a cartoon character, and Cat has a very heavy story. She has a lot of emotional baggage. And so Pablo, this is just a small sampling. Well, I'll show you. He sort of looked at a lot of classic African sculpture for inspiration. And maybe Pablo, you could talk about that a little, about looking through this, whatever your memories are of it, and then I'll show next steps with what you did with this inspiration.
Yes, I remember I was there in Burbank. We were working like together for a week there, and I was wondering how to go from flat designs to 3D puppets. So I remember about Picasso. You know, my work has a lot of Picasso. I'm very influenced by him. So I started thinking, okay, how did Picasso do that? The sculptures of Picasso, and I remember then that Picasso was a huge fan of African mask. So I said, okay, I can Google some African mask, and I start looking at them, and I was amazed because there was like all kind of crazy things. You know, beautiful and very diverse. So I showed them to Henry, and he liked them too. So I started working on designing, looking for this mask, and so I was taking like a design and make a character from this mask and from a different mask, and we have like, I don't know, 3, no more, I think like 10 different designs. So I showed them to to Henry, and Henry liked the third one here, and it was like the solution, because I remember thinking that it's gonna be hard to find the face of the main character, because there's a lot of things going on here. So it's gonna be a long work, but this African mask was like a shortcut, and we can. It was pretty quick to find her, to find Kat there. So it was a good thing, thanks to Picasso again.
And Picasso's inspiration,
Yeah.
which Pablo went directly to. Yeah, I didn't mention, but Pablo pointed out how in the Land of the Living, our protagonist, I felt it would never work for her to be sort of that bas relief, almost flat look that the demons were in the underworld. And I think he found an amazing solution. Any of these could have worked. I just, for whatever reason, I just like that number 3 from the left. And then Pablo quickly nailed her down, and we started working with variations of her hair. And
Henry and Pablo, sorry to interrupt. I was going to tell you we have about 23 minutes left with all the good stuff to show. I know. Okay, I'll disappear again.
God, I better stop gassing on and move faster. But that was great, Pablo. So these characters, the demons and Kat, are going to get the most attention. So hairstyles, shirts, and so forth, inspired by Afropunk movement, and then we started settling it down. And Kat is a character. She's given a second chance from the juvie justice system, which is pretty shocking in this country. Kids as young as 7 are being jailed like they're adults. Got into some costume ideas, and here's some amazing facial expressions that Pablo created, showing a range of emotions. And then here was the key first sculpt that was done by Damon Bard. And then that continued to evolve as her look evolved, and until the actual puppet, which is Kat in her Afropunk form. There she is when she's just getting out of the juvie justice system, her pajamas. And there's also some flashbacks of Kat as a young girl. So these were, Pablo's work again, and the puppet of her. I'm going to just charge through a couple of other characters quickly, and then look to Ryan for what might make the most sense. Is the next thing. These are the other sort of main characters. Raul, school artist, and someone who would really like to be Kat's friend, but she says, "I don't do friends." Voiced by Sam Zalea. And here's a variety of early designs by Pablo. And, sometimes I'll say, well, base it off of this real person or this one. And we're fooling around, trying to find, again, sculptural shapes. He looked at some Mayan sculptures, and that was a great influence here, and then started nailing it down. And that sort of lower guy, the lower right, was sort of very sweet, and that's what I ended up kind of going for. And then Pablo did his usual amazing work of creating emotions in his art, expressions. And then this is sort of the initial sculpture. I think we did a good job. We captured what Pablo did, really striking design, but it can rotate. It looks good from other angles. And that, resulted in this puppet. I have clips of these, but I'm not going to show them because I want to just maybe save one of the funniest, strangest clips. Siobhan is she's the daughter of the people who turn out to be the villains, the Claxons, but she's not villainous. She's a sweet, smart, rich girl, just a little ignorant. She's voiced by Tamara Smart, a young British actor. And I was kind of looking at the old film Clueless as inspiration, and Nicki Minaj in one of her various guises with that blonde wig. I thought was a good look. So there was some early sketches of Pablo's, and that evolved to this. And that's Siobhan with her best friends, some expressions, ultimately a sculpture and a puppet. And Father Best, voiced by James Hong, who's 92 now, I believe, and total delight to work with. Just phenomenally good performer. And I'll go quickly through early ideas till we just, James Hong is the guy. And I'm just going to breeze through other main characters that, Pablo always found a way to bring to go through stages and find just the right design. This is Sister Helly, who is the science teacher and would-be mentor to Kat, voiced by Angela Bassett. She's very dynamic. That was, for sculpt and puppet. And there's this character, Manberg, who's the janitor and also a demon hunter at the school. And found a great actor, Igal Nayor, to voice him. And we were definitely influenced a little by Marlon Brando in his design. There's his sculpt. There's a whole backstory about him losing his legs, and it has something to do with a one-eyed cyclops that looks exactly like John Lasseter, but that's not in the movie. These are Kat's parents. They're dead. There were happy memories of them. Gabrielle Dennis, Gary Gatewood voices. And Dad was a big fan of the original Black Punk movement in the 70s. And so that was sort of his connection with his daughter, little Kat, even when she was 7, was into Afro punk. And that's how he might have looked back in the day. And then he evolved through various guises and influences. Mom evolved to be this character. Those are, and Dad with a hipster beard. Great expressions, all by Pablo. And then their first sculpts, puppets. And then they're also undead. They are brought back. Okay. 2 more characters I'm going to cover. In the underworld, this underworld in our movie, it's not hell, not the hell. It's for it's where the souls that aren't so bad, souls of the danged versus the damned go, and it's run by a giant named Buffalo Belzer. He's your host, voiced by the magnificent Ving Rhames. And I'm going to go very quickly through the progression of designs to sort of, these are some early-ish ones, and then it rapidly moved to this. Kind of going for a Barry White vibe with the glasses. He's a giant in this screen fair where the souls are, they ride these horrible rides forever. It's built on him. There's a sculpt. And here's the actual puppet, which is one of the coolest of all. Yeah, Ben Adams was a sculptor on that, and our magnificent puppet team built this guy. Okay. You know, in a classic form, this guy would be the villain, but he's not the villain, not at all. He's not a great parent who becomes a better parent. And he has a reason for how he is. But the real villains are Lane and Irmgard Claxon, who are, well, they build private prisons. If you know anything about them, they're not like a private country club. They're for-profit prisons. And how do they make profits? Well, they give like zero medical help, horrible food, no rehabilitation. And these villains have been trying to build a private prison in town for a number of years, but they continue to be outvoted by the town council, for they're desperate to win the vote to build their new prison. These are Siobhan's parents, voiced by David Harewood, Maxine Peake. We had an early, I won't tell you the whole history, but sort of an evolution. Well, who are her parents? What do they look like? Who are they? And we ended up with, you know, Pablo designing all along the way. These as the designs, as expressions, and finally as sculpts and as puppets. All right, that's a conclusion of our presentation. If questions or wherever Ryan wants to go, open.
I think we'll have to end now on time, but I know I was in the majority thinking more clips, please, Henry. So I think we'll wrap up then, and I maybe we'll love to have you come back again next year. But I just wanted to give everyone a chance to join me in the chat in thanking Pablo Lobato and Henry Selick for joining us and for sharing so much. I was just here smiling behind my screen the entire time. So
Well,
thank you so much,
Ryan.
Pablo.
I hope people enjoyed what they saw, maybe learned something, and thanks so much, Pablo, for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Yes, I was truly just pinching myself. Thank you again for sharing on behalf of the whole community, and we'll see you next week for another Siren series. Thank you so much, Henry.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.